Resident Evil 4 is an amazing game and one of my favorites. Not only did it single-handedly save Resident Evil from becoming stale as a franchise, but it also helped found the third-person action survival horror genre. And if you wanted to play it yourself, it recaps the previous game's story relevance to this one, so there's not really any excuse not to give it a go. First up, I want to mention the controls. The game features very limited camera control with the right stick. If you want to look around properly, you'll have to aim in. There's a run button, quick turn, all the classic Resident Evil stuff. But this time the camera is a third-person tracking camera rather than the set camera angles for each area. The thing that takes the most getting used to upon a first playthrough is how much the action button actually does. It performs those quick turns and sprints that I mentioned, but it is also the button to interact. It's the shoot button when you're holding in the aim, and it's knife when you're holding in the knife button. But once you get around all of that, the experience becomes smooth as butter. Combining this with the fun gunplay and inventory system is really what makes RE4 a satisfying game all around. Another interesting point is the graphics. Other than a few muddy textures here and there, which is kind of expected, it overall really holds up for a GameCube game that wasn't going for a cartoony style, a la Wind Waker and Luigi's Mansion. And honestly, I would say with how well it runs on the GameCube, any paring back that they had to do doesn't really matter, because it looks great. Other than good graphics, the game is just chock full of memorable moments, like any good game should be.
Don't you think?
Lewis serves as a good sidekick for Leon. He doesn't show up often, but when he does stick around, he's kind of complimentary to Leon, and his cutscenes are rather funny. And then we have the strange merchant guy, who kind of just shows up.
Over here, stranger.
And then he shows up everywhere. He has a ridiculous, over-the-top voice, and this combined with how every button pressed in your shop has a voice clip, and these voice clips can overlap and cut each other off, is just so hilarious.
What are you buying? Thank you. What are you buying? What are you selling? Is that all? I'll buy it at a high price. Thank you.
He's definitely kind of like the mascot of the game. He's the first thing that comes to mind when thinking of Resident Evil 4, that's for sure. Each part of the game has its own landmarks, enemies, and bosses. The experience is constantly changing around you, so it never feels too samey. Leon's mission here is to rescue Ashley, the President's daughter, by the way. However, rescuing Ashley of course means that there is some section where you have to protect her, and she will follow close behind you. Said sections are few throughout the entire run of the game, as she spends most of the time absent due to being a complete moron or from surprise kidnappings that happen every 2 seconds.
You alright?
I'm fine! Leave me alone!
Ashley, wait! Ashley!
What's going on?
But when she is with you, it is pretty painless, and there's normally a bin to dump her in anyway before a big action sequence. And if not, she'll stick to you like glue and follow any order you give her. And I never really thought of her as a hassle, aside from my first playthrough when I didn't even notice the bins, which made it a lot more difficult than it should have been. She ducks down when you need to shoot past her, and she sticks so close to you that if you maneuver yourself well, she will come out unharmed too. Content-wise, this game is very rich. The main campaign, and the only one I had access to upon my first GameCube playthrough, is about 15 hours long. My recent normal mode replay was about 10 hours. On the GameCube version, after beating the main game, there's a few new modes that unlocked. Mercenaries, which is a time attack sort of deal, on specific locales throughout the game. In this mode, better scores will unlock more characters with different loadouts and skins for these characters. Then there's Assignment Ada, a very short mini-campaign, which I never did play originally. It's just a small section of the last area of the game, where you play as Ada with very limited ammo and healing items. And for the last mode, I mentioned the GameCube version earlier because I didn't actually have this campaign, because it was added in further releases of the game, which was meant to be an exclusive. Thank God it isn't though. This is a campaign called Separate Ways, and it's a more lengthy campaign that shows off what Ada was doing whenever she wasn't on camera throughout the main game. So, to recap, the Steam release of RE4 goes for about $30 normally, that's in Australian. It goes on sale fairly often too, and it comes with the main campaign, which is very replayable on both the difficulties, a very challenging score attack mode, and 2 mini campaigns. It's quite the package, and I would suggest it to anyone who actually enjoys playing video games. The influences of RE4 are still felt today, and for good reason. It's a game that kind of really just mastered everything that it set out to do. It's truly a classic. Thanks for watching.